Capital One has been known to be stingy with their credit limit increases, and we've all literally heard this before. A lot of the time when people apply for a credit limit increase with Capital One, they will either get denied, or if they do get approved for a credit limit increase with them, it's going to be something small and not anything too crazy. But what if I told you there's actually a way that you guys can get approved for a pretty decent credit limit increase on any of your Capital One credit cards without a hard pull on your credit? In this video, I'm going to be going over a few things you guys can do to make sure you guys get the most out of your Capital One credit cards when requesting a credit limit increase with them. So it might not be that Capital One is stingy, but maybe you guys aren't using the correct methods needed in order to get a decent credit limit increase on your guys' Capital One credit cards. If you guys use the methods that I'm going to be talking about in this video to get a credit limit increase with them, Capital One will give you guys an increase mostly every time you request one. So if you guys want the secret sauce on how to do this, then make sure to watch this video all the way to the end so that way you, sir or ma'am, do not miss out on any good Capital One information that can help you out. If you're already subscribed, then welcome back. But if you guys are new to my channel, my name is Ismael Sandiford, and you are now watching Just Money, where we talk about financial related topics such as personal and business credit, real estate, and other financial related topics. So if that's something you're into, then you're probably going to want to consider subscribing. But without further ado, let's get into today's video. Okay, so just to let you guys know beforehand, to be eligible to receive a credit limit increase with Capital One, your account must be at least 3 months old, and you can have received a credit limit increase with them within the last 6 months. Now, Capital One does allow you to request a credit limit increase with them as soon as you guys get a credit card with them. But let me be the one to tell you, do not do that, because more than likely you're going to receive an immediate denial with them. And I'll be talking about more of that a little later in this video. But anyways, jumping right into it, the first thing I would recommend doing so that way you guys can get a credit limit increase with Capital One is updating your guys' income. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys. You guys have to update your income because a lot of you guys are not doing this. Updating your income is something very, very important that all you guys should be doing if you guys haven't yet already. Especially if you guys have a new job and you're making more money now, because this is going to help Capital One determine your card's new credit limit. And sometimes just by even doing this, they will give you a credit limit increase automatically without you even asking. Now, this doesn't happen in all case scenarios, but it definitely does happen. And let me also just mention, when you guys do update your income, don't over exaggerate on what you guys make. Because if you guys put a crazy number and it just seems unbelievable, then you might have to turn in some docs now, like your guys' pay stubs or even your guys' tax returns. And you do not want to do all that. I don't even want to do all that. And then on top too, it's actually fraud to do this, so you could be subjected to quite a few years in jail, although in most case scenarios, this is most likely not going to happen. But if you guys already have your income updated with Capital One, then the next thing I would make sure to do is have a low credit utilization ratio. If your credit usage is over 30% and you try to apply for a credit limit increase or even a new credit card with Capital One, then they're going to view you as a risk. They're going to view you as a risk because your guys' credit card usage is just simply too high. So the chances of you guys getting a new credit card or even a credit limit increase are going to be kind of slim. I would recommend for you guys to have a low credit utilization ratio of 10% or less before you guys request a credit limit increase with Capital One. So if you combine all the credit limits that you have on each credit card and they all add up to $50,000, then I would personally recommend to have no more than $5,000 worth of credit card debt. Because ladies and gentlemen, 10% of $50,000 is going to be $5,000, so make sure your credit card debt does not exceed that amount. And then also too, at the same time, the Capital One credit card that you guys are requesting a credit limit increase on, I would personally make sure you have no debt on that specific Capital One credit card before you apply for a limit increase with them. Now, you still might get a credit limit increase with Capital One if you guys have a little bit of debt on that credit card, but just to be on the safe side, I would personally make sure you don't have a balance before requesting a credit limit increase. Because the chances of you guys getting approved for a credit limit increase with Capital One while having no debt on that credit card are obviously going to be way higher to where if you did have debt on that credit card. But this actually leads me to the third thing that I want to talk about in this video. That might be the most very important thing that I'm about to say in this video. Capital One wants to see that you guys are actually using the credit card, because if you guys aren't using your Capital One credit card, then why would they give you a credit limit increase? Every time you guys make a purchase on your guys' Capital One credit card, not only does Capital One see that, but they keep that noted in their files. Most people that get denied for a credit limit increase with Capital One don't even use their credit card like that. And this is why some people that do have a Capital One credit card, they have a low credit limit. They have a $300 credit limit or something like a $500 credit limit or something. It's mostly low because either one, they have a high credit utilization ratio, or two, they're just simply not using their Capital One credit card enough. Most of the time when Capital One gives you an automatic credit limit increase, it's because they have a system in play that keeps track of your spending patterns and your guys' habits. So if your guys' spending patterns and habits are in line with Capital One, then they will gladly increase your credit limit without even asking. And I know some of you guys are going to say, okay, well, how should my spending patterns and habits be then? It's actually quite simple. All you really have to do is just religiously use your Capital One credit card all the time. But make sure to pay it back in full all the time as well. Because again, we have to think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Why in the world would Capital One give you guys a credit limit increase if you don't even use the credit card? Because in Capital One's head, what they're thinking is, what do you need a credit limit increase for? You don't even use the card. Why would I give you a credit limit increase? So what you need to do is show and prove to them that, hey, I am using my card all the time, and I need you guys to increase my credit limit on my credit card. But you can't just ask them. You guys have to show them. And the way you show them is by making at least minimum 15 transactions on that Capital One credit card every single month. And then also too, though, at the same time, if you guys have like a $500 credit limit, then I would get close to that $500 as possible. And what I mean by that is like I would spend about $490 on that card on different transactions and then just pay it off. You'd be surprised how fast you guys can get to that limit if you guys are using your Capital One credit card on just simple daily purchases. Me personally, I would use the credit card for normal everyday stuff like getting gas, buying food, paying your bills, whatever, etc. But just get close to the credit limit amount as possible and then just pay it off. I would personally run it up to almost the limit amount and then just pay it off every 2 to 3 days. Do this at least 2 to 3 times a month so that way you guys can show Capital One that, hey, I am using my credit card and I'm almost hitting my credit limit amount. I need you guys to increase my credit limit. I guarantee you, if you guys keep doing this, Capital One's going to be like, oh wow, this person is so close to their credit limit, and at the same time too, they're paying it off every single time. You know what? Let's automatically increase their credit limit because this person clearly needs a higher credit limit from all these purchases he's been making, because what we gave him previously was too low. And ladies and gentlemen, if you guys do this method, they will automatically increase your credit limit. Like, you literally won't even have to ask. But the reason behind to why they're actually doing this is because you keep showing them a high spend activity, but at the same time too, you're also showing high activity of you paying it back. So this is literally showing Capital One that you guys are responsible when it comes to paying your guys' credit card off. Just make sure to figure out what day in the month is your statement date, so that way you can make sure you guys have this credit card paid off in full before it reports to the credit bureaus. Because if you guys pay it after your statement date, then that balance is going to get reported to the credit bureaus, and now your credit score is going to drop up until you pay it back off. So just figure out when your statement date is and make sure to have that credit card paid off in full before that date. Now, other financial institutions give you an automatic credit limit increase as well, sometimes without a hard pull on your credit, and they pretty much use the same systems that check your guys' spending patterns and habits to determine if you guys should get an automatic credit limit increase. But the one thing I will say is that Capital One, out of every other financial institution, is definitely big on using your credit card all the time and getting close to your spending limit and paying it off all the time as well, while at the same time having a low credit utilization ratio and having your income updated compared to any other financial institution out there. Now, other than updating your guys' income, keeping a low credit utilization ratio, using your Capital One credit card frequently, if you guys want a super high credit limit, there's actually something else that you guys have to do. You guys need to raise your credit limits on your guys' other credit cards. Because typically, when a credit issuer sees you have a high limit credit card with another credit issuer, that will entice them to give you a credit limit around your highest limit credit card amount. And if you guys don't know where to get a high limit credit card, then I would definitely start looking in Navy Federal Credit Union's direction. I always talk about Navy Federal Credit Union on my channel because not only are they the GOAT, but they will actually give you a super high limit credit card compared to any other credit issuer out there, hands down. So if you have a $25,000 credit limit on one of your Navy Federal credit cards, when you get a credit limit increase with Capital One, they'll probably give you the same amount or something around that range. The only problem with that though is not everybody can bank with Navy Federal Credit Union because it is military exclusive to people who are in the military or have some kind of affiliation with people who are in the military. So if you guys can't get in with Navy Federal Credit Union, then a good alternative to go to is PenFed Credit Union, because they also give you high limit credit cards as well. I spoke about PenFed quite a few times before on my channel, so if you guys are interested in banking with them, any one of you guys out there watching this video right now can literally start banking with them. So get a high limit credit card with PenFed if you can with Navy Federal, so that way when you get a credit limit increase with Capital One, they'll give you a super high credit limit now. And also, if you guys are finding any of this information helpful, if you guys could do me a favor and hit the like button, I would really appreciate it because it really helps me out a lot, and it's also a dope way to help support the channel. But anyways, just so you guys know, there's going to be 3 different ways you guys can request a credit limit increase with Capital One, and all 3 ways will always result in a soft pull on your guys' credit. The first way you guys can request a credit limit increase with Capital One is obviously going to be through your guys' computer. The second way is going to be through an automated system through a phone call with them. And the third way you guys can request a credit limit increase with Capital One is going to be through the app, which I'm actually going to show you guys how to do right now. Once you guys sign in on your Capital One app, click profile on the bottom right. And then after that, you're going to want to click account and feature settings. Once you guys are in account and feature settings, click request credit line increase. And if you guys have a few Capital One credit cards right there, then click the credit card that you want to do the credit limit increase on. For this example, I'm just going to click on the Quicksilver credit card. Once you guys click on that, they're going to ask you guys for your total annual income. So whatever income you're making, put it in, because this is very important, because this is going to help determine what your credit limit increase should be. And make sure not to lie. But also too, just so you guys know, you can use your entire household income if you guys would like to. So if you guys are married, you can use your spouse's income, or if you have a roommate, then you can actually use their income as well if you guys would like to. Whatever you put though, I would personally recommend to leave room for growth every time. So if you put $80,000 on your total annual income, the next time you apply for a credit limit increase with them, I would put $100,000 as your total annual income. And I say this because it's believable. Capital One literally doesn't even know if you guys got a raise or even a better job. It just looks good that you grew from $80,000 to that $100,000 mark the next time you guys apply for a credit limit increase with them. Because now it makes sense to why you would need a credit limit increase, since you grew from the $80,000 mark to the $100,000 mark. It makes sense to them now. Okay, cool. He's making more money. Okay, then we need to update his credit limit. Because now it would make sense to why you need a credit limit increase. You know what I'm saying? time, because the next time you ask them for a credit limit increase, you'll just be like, what's up? I'm making more money now. What's good with a credit limit increase? And they would have no choice but to give you a credit limit increase. Just don't put anything crazy on the application like $200,000 or $400,000, even if you guys are making that, because that's going to cause red flags. But the next thing Capital One is going to know is your guys' employment status. If you guys put unemployed or even self-employed, you're pretty much just asking to get denied for a credit limit increase with them. I mean, self-employed, you can technically put it, but the problem with that is just two things. One, you might face hiccups along the way while trying to get an approval. Like, they might ask you for documentation, or maybe you won't get approved right away, and now you're going to have to wait a few days for them to come up with a decision when you could have avoided that by simply just putting employed. And then two, when you guys put self-employed on a credit application, it's also going to show on your guys' credit report now. So now you might be deemed as a high-risk borrower, and this might be a future problem for you guys. So I would personally just skip all of that nonsense and just put employed on the application. Because even if you guys do have your own business, if you're paying yourself like how you should be, then that makes you employed by your business. So again, just skip all the nonsense and headed, guys, and just put employed on the application, guys. Trust me. And also, by the way, I would not put retired either on the application, although you technically can if you have income to go with it. But again, I would just skip the nonsense and just put employed, guys. After that, though, they're going to ask you guys for your occupation, so just go ahead and fill that out and put what best resides with you. Then they're going to ask, what do you guys pay in rent or mortgage every month? If you guys live at home still with your family, then I personally would just put $100. But lastly, they're going to want to know what your projected monthly spending is. Again, do not put anything too far-fetched here, you guys, because we do not want to raise red flags. So if you're making just over $100,000, then I would personally put about $5,000. But once you guys have that put in, then just go ahead and slide to the right, so that way you guys can obtain your credit limit increase. If you guys get approved right away, then congratulations. But if you guys got denied, then Capital One is going to send you a letter in the mail telling you why they denied you. So if you guys got denied, then don't worry, because you guys can actually apply again after 90 days, like how I mentioned in the beginning of this video. And make sure it's at least over 90 days before you guys apply again, because if you don't, then you're more than likely going to get denied again. But if you guys are approved for the increase, then you can actually request another credit limit increase after 6 months, as long as you guys do everything in this video that I mentioned. So if you guys have missed payments, a high usage on your credit card, or you're just simply not using your Capital One credit card like that, do not apply for a credit limit increase, because you already know what's going to happen. But for those out there that are standing on business, I would personally recommend to apply for a credit limit increase with them at least once a year. And this isn't just for Capital One. Do this on all your credit cards at least once a year. Because again, if a credit issuer sees that you have a high limit with a different credit issuer, then they're going to look at that, and more than likely they're going to give you a limit around that range as well. But that's going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. I hope you guys found value in any of this information as always. Let me know in the comments below, what's the biggest credit limit increase you ever got before with Capital One? I would like to know. Don't forget to get your guys' free stock at Robinhood that could potentially be worth all the way up to $200 when you guys use my link in the description below. And also, if you guys are looking for a high yield savings account, I personally use SoFi, so that's what I would recommend using. If you guys use my link in the description below, then you could potentially earn all the way up to $325 of free money, so I definitely wouldn't snooze on that while the offer is still available. And also, really quick, I do offer one-on-one consultations. If you guys want to speak to me personally, the link will always be in the description below. But if you guys want the chance to win a free 15-minute consultation with me, then just comment the word free game in the comments below and send an email to my business email stating what you guys want to talk about. But if you guys made it to the end of the video, we were at 50,707 subscribers at the time of this recording, so I do appreciate all who watch. I do post weekly videos for those that don't know, and if you guys haven't yet already, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't yet already, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that way you guys get notified every time I post a new video. And again, we talk about personal and business credit, real estate, and other financial related topics, so if that's something you're into, then you're probably going to want to consider subscribing. We talk about how to get high limits on your guys' credit cards, talk about how to boost your personal credit, how to obtain business credit, we talk about real estate, we talk about mortgage loan programs, we talk about all that. So this is your one-stop shop. And really quick, for those that don't know, I'm a licensed real estate agent and a licensed mortgage loan originator. So if you guys have any questions or concerns in regards to real estate, all my information will always be in the description below. And also, if you guys are trying to buy a home in Southern California, all my information will always be in the description below. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.